you do everything through the app, and it's kind of intimidating for a lot of people to pay everything through the app, and you go pick it up and you just get in your vehicle. But a lot of people, like they don't know, like, okay, well, I bought it online and now I'm in it. It's like, what do I do from here?
Welcome to the Tesla Boomer Podcast, where we teach boomers all about Tesla to help them engage better so they can live their lives even better. And today my guest is Joe Jefferson. Great to have you, Joe.
What's going on? Look at us boomers on a podcast.
So, Joe, I've done a little bit of research. You currently serve as the Director of Partnerships for the Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley, and you're the president of the San Joaquin Valley chapter, which you founded in 2017. And you live in Stockton.
Thank you. That's all correct.
So how did you first get into the Tesla scene? I mean, was there a specific moment or an experience that made you say, you know what, I need to start a club for this?
So the reason why I started the club, because I had a 2013 Model S and we were already joining like other clubs, like the East Bay Club and things like that. We were already joining their events. And so I was like, man, we sure do need a club out where I come so I don't have to travel so far. And they were like, yeah, dude, just start a club. And so I talked with Tesla and they were like, yeah, that's a underserved area. Let's go ahead and set it up. And so I started the club. Me and one other person, Lucia, went ahead and founded the club, and we've been running it ever since. I'm also the president of NorCal, Reno as well.
So how many members in your club?
We have thousands of members. Yeah, it's my area stretches from upper NorCal, like Redding area, all the way down to the Bakersfield. So geographically, we're probably one of the largest clubs, but I mean, we don't have like 1 million followers like Silicon Valley does.
Well, my best friend in college, Tom Swertfager, hey Tom, is from Bakersfield, and he lives in Bakersfield. So Joe, running a volunteer-based club across that huge area of the San Joaquin Valley, it sounds intense. Tell us, what was the biggest challenge you faced, and how did you tackle it?
I think we're facing it now, and we're handling it very well. For the Valley, we don't really encounter a lot of adversity as a club per se. Like I said, other than what's happening right now, but even that really doesn't affect the Valley as much as it does like some of the areas like Sacramento, past Sacramento and things like that. But we handle it as we do everything. We try to make sure that we're engaging with the community, and we do a lot of things where we're making sure the community is involved. And as long as people want to gather and converse and go for a good cause, then we're all about it.
So you mentioned something about something not going well, and we both know what it is. And it's the movement to somehow convey that Elon Musk is not the finest allocator of capital in the world. And that somehow this is bad for America. And what's interesting is how the legion of people who began buying Teslas, that legion has changed, hasn't it? What have you noticed about people who are joining or purchasing Teslas lately and joining your club?
So we did a round for about 5 different locations where we went around and visited all the staff at the locations and gave them donuts and things like that. Try to make sure they were under a positive reinforcement as well as we possibly could. It's been really positive in that regard, how people receive it, and every time at every location we went, like that past weekend, it was super busy. So we've been getting a lot of members, a lot of new members, and people are just kind of like, well, that's weird. Not really, you know what I mean? Like believe it or not, we are in such a bubble. Like most of the people don't really care and don't really know what's going on. It it's kind of like really weird to say, but it's kind of like a high class problem. You know what I mean? Like middle to low class. Like they saved up everything they could get. They finally get in their Tesla, and you know what I mean. Like they probably are not invested. They don't follow along. They're not in the weeds of this stuff like we are. And so I talk to members all the time. I had no idea what was said, what was happening, or anything like that. They're just enjoying their ride. And so it just so happens that a lot of the members we get are just really about enjoying the vehicle, and as they should. I mean, it's the safest vehicles.
And there is a camaraderie around about people who own Teslas, isn't there?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think.
How would you describe that?
Well, I would say that it's really about. I mentioned community a lot, but it's really just about coming together for a common goal. You know what I mean? Like not everybody is about the environmental aspect, but people like the American vehicle. They like that it's made here. They like the fact that it, you know what I mean, it's made in California, and they can get around that, and they really support like local and really support that part of the business. And that's a great majority of people, believe it or not. The other part, of course, is environmentalists, people trying to do the right thing. And then you have a whole subset of people that are just like, well, this is way better than my gas card that was costing me like $90 a fill up every week. And you know what I mean? Like this is just way better. It's like $20 at the Supercharger. So for them, for that subset of people, they're just coming into this because it was like the best fit for their situation. Like that's a whole different subset of people, and they just really like fast cars, and you know what I mean? And they're burning through petroleum anyway, so they're just like burning rubber and electrons, and they're just really enjoying it.
Well, after you get through the bias or the prejudice that someone has about something that they really don't understand, once you get through that, and then they can feel what a Tesla feels like when you drive it, things change, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like it's really that whole butts and seats thing. So I'll give you an example. So just this past weekend, we had an event at a car show, a Cars and Coffee, and there was like hundreds of people there. So a guy has a brand new C8 Corvette. I mean, he loves this vet. He's had every vet, he told me, from the early freaking 80s to now. And so he just really just enjoys vets.
Hey, Joe, they're manufactured here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where I live.
Oh, yeah, really? Well, he loves his vet, and so that's not a bad thing. But he got into the Cybertruck. He got into it, he drove it, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is faster than my vet. I want a Cybertruck." And so he was like, and that's really all it takes, just people getting in, trying it out, and he asked me a few questions. We even did the FSD for him and everything. And he was just like blown away. He's like, man, I had no idea. I thought it would take like 8 hours to charge or whatever. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not true. That's not true. And he was just like, what, no transmission? Because with his brand new C8 Corvette, he's already had 2 trips to the service because of the transmission and for something else. Like he's like, I don't even have 20,000 miles on this thing, and it's already been in service for a couple of issues that shouldn't happen so early. And I was like, yeah, well, you don't have a transmission in the Cybertrucks.
So I'm curious. You talked a lot about your endeavor to add value to your communities, and that trash can initiative at Superchargers. It caught my eye. It's such a cool, practical move. So, what sparked that idea, and how did you rally people around something so hands-on?
So, what sparked the idea was Tesla owners are kind of messy. And so we would go to Superchargers, and I was like, man, there's a lot of messes here. And it just kept happening. And I was like, man, I went and talked to a few of the other club presidents, and they were like, yeah, it's in our area too. We should do something about it. And so it was me, I think in Indiana, New York, I think also did it. and a couple other states. And we were like, yeah, let's just put trash cans out to all the ones that have the, most problems. And I talked to a few of the members and they were like, yeah, yeah, we'll volunteer. We'll swap them out and whatever. And it's like, man, it's awesome. So we just had a really good community, and it was just really about just driving an EV and maintaining the cleanliness of the supercharger area. You know what I mean?
So the people who are charging, they can put trash in, and then there must be bags in there, and then they take care that they will put the bag together, put a new one in, and just take care of it, huh?
No, so we had like most of them were 50-gallon trash cans we set up, and so we would have members that would rotate. Every month there's somebody that's swapping out the bags every week, and so we would just go on rotations of making sure we change out the trash cans. I had talked to a few of the business owners in the area, and they let us dump the trash in their bins. They have big dumpsters, and so they were like, "Yeah, sure, you can use our dumpster." And so we would go around every week and change them out. The members would. They're volunteer to do it, no problem. Pretty awesome.
Well, you mentioned that you're juggling presidents of a couple clubs, and you're also the director of partnerships for Tesla owners of Silicon Valley. That sounds like a lot of work. So, what's the wildest thing that's happened while wearing all those hats?
The takeover. So so we have an event every year. It used to be the Tesla takeover, it's now the X takeover. We have an event every year, and that is the wildest thing that happens every year. Last year, we had Franz, Elon speak at our event. We had Jared Isaacman, who's now going to be heading up NASA, come through. He was there in person, got to meet everybody before he went on his good spacewalk. Oh no, it was right after his spacewalk. It was just a wild time. Like it was pretty cool to be able to manage that. I mean, we're doing it now. We have meetings every week, and we're just trying to make sure that we put on a good show for everybody, and just a community led event. It's the largest community led event in North America for Tesla owners, and it has a pretty good global reach. John and Kelvin and Steven, those guys, they head up separate departments, and they just got back from Asia for the Asia takeover, and it's pretty awesome. And we did the Europe also had the takeover the year prior. It's been pretty good.
What's one thing you wish more people understood, especially boomers, about owning a Tesla in the San Joaquin Valley? Any hidden perks or myths that you'd bust?
Well, I think probably the biggest myth is that it takes forever to charge, and that you're going to be stuck at the charger for hours on end. That's just not true. I think a lot of boomers, you just reach a certain age and you just get used to what you're used to, and you don't realize that there is a better way, and why not try it? So I think for a lot of boomers, they just don't want to deal with something so high tech. And I'm just like, I mean, that guy who had the Corvette, he's what, 70, I think 71, maybe 72. And
He's just a youngster.
just a young guy. And you know what I mean? And he was like, oh, it's so high tech. But once he got in, I was like, nah, man, there's an accelerator, there's a brake. You know what I mean? Put it in gear and you're good to go. And he was just like, wow, that's super easy and intuitive, is what I think a lot of boomers don't get. It's just like owning a cell phone, you know what I mean? And most of us have those anyways. Like, it's just really easy. If you know how to drive, you can drive an EV. It's not any different. It's less to worry about, if anything.
So are you seeing an influx of boomers and Gen Xers, their kids that are purchasing Teslas and joining your clubs?
Oh yeah, we get a lot. It's been probably in the past 2 years, I would say. It's really amped up, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the understanding that there's not a lot to deal with, and and nobody really wants to. The last thing you want to do is be stuck on a freeway at 75 because your car overheated. You know what I mean? Or you got a oil leak or a valve. You know what I mean? Like something just went bad and you need to tune up, and it's like just chugging along, or you know what I mean? You put the wrong gas in or something like that. Like, I think for a lot of people, they just realize that they just don't want to deal with the hassles of what it takes to run an internal combustion engine anymore. And so they just realize that, man, there's a better way. I mean, go do that. Every time I talk to somebody, like especially like new boomers that got their vehicles, that's usually the thing that turned them around. They just realize like this is way easier than I realized owning an EV would be, especially for road trips, because that's a big thing for boomers is they think they're going to have to like do all this managing around the charging. And it's like, no, you just put your destination in and the car tell you when to charge, when to stop, and how long you're going to be there.
So how would you convince a baby boomer? So walk me through an example, if you have one, of convincing a baby boomer who's been driving gas cars their whole life that, and you just mentioned this, the Tesla is not just a fancy gadget, but a smart, practical choice for them.
So I think first, it just really, the one thing you have to do, and I think Tesla kind of got away from this a little bit, is you have to take your time with the boomers. Like they really have to get in it. You have to, show them around a little bit. Like in the early days, Tesla would just take their time and show you what this does and answer all your questions, sit in the car with you and everything like that. And I think for us, we're a lot hands-on with our members and we're pretty active in that regard. So people know that I'm always available. So we end up having chats and things like that. And I'm able to sit with people and they're like, oh, I didn't even know that. And that's usually the thing. It's just taking your time to just explain how it works and what you can do. And most of them like pick up on it right away. It's one of those things where it seems difficult until you're actually doing it. And then you realize like, oh, that wasn't even a problem.
Give us an example of when you have put FSD available and you put someone, a baby boomer, in your seat. And how did they respond to not having to touch the steering wheel?
Well, of course they freak out at first. So I'll tell you, every year we do this thing in Modesto, and it's a ride and drive event. So we have all kinds of EVs come out and people get to try everything. And so whenever somebody gets in, you show them around and whatever, and you let them like drive and they get that. That's no problem. But man, once you put on the FSD and they're like, wait, oh, I don't have to. Well, it's really doing it. It's going to turn right here. It's going to put the blinker on. And yeah, they really, once it really hits that the vehicle sees more and is far more reactive than they are, especially like, a lot of them realize that, they're not as quick as they used to be. So for a lot of them, they're just like, okay, that's cool. I could use that because I do not like driving at night. And this would actually just help me getting around more often. So there's been a lot of situations like that, especially like last year when we were at our ride and drive. It was like that for a lot of people. They were just like, holy cow, it does everything. It really sees everything.
So I'm also curious, the Gen Xers may be around your age, although you're probably younger than that. So the Gen Xers, one of the more difficult conversations that they are having or will have with their parents is, Dad, give me the keys. Can you give me an example of a conversation you've had with a Gen Xer who's trying to persuade his parents that they should own a Tesla?
Wow. I don't really have any specific examples of that. Usually everybody who is trying to convince their folks to go forth, they end up eventually just doing it because they've ridden with their kids and they realize like how easy it is and it's not that difficult. So I think for a lot of the boomers, it's that way. And I think for the Gen Xers, it just becomes like an easier explanation for them to get their parents involved because they've done it. It's like, no, you got to try this. This is actually cool. It's super easy. It's super intuitive, and that's usually what gets the ball rolling. You know what I mean? Butts and seats, and then you just end up converting
I think
people.
you answered my question. You answered my question, and that is persuade the Gen Xer to buy a Tesla with the goal of getting dad and mom in so that dad and mom, so I don't have to worry about where dad and mom are. I can remember
Yep.
a conversation I had with my mom. They had driven all the way to North Carolina and they went through Washington, D.C. They're from Ohio. And they were just laughing because they'd had a good time. And dad called me in the midst of it. And he said, we need some advice. We're on the Beltway around Washington, D.C. for the second time. I didn't know how to
Oh
get
man.
off.
Oh
Yes.
man.
So I was pretty much in touch with them from that point forward until they got to North Carolina and we tracked them all the way back. And that pretty much was their last trip alone. So
Yeah.
it's a really, really important conversation, and it's difficult for a Gen Xer to have that.
Yeah. 100%. I think like for a lot of people, once you have that realization, it is a difficult conversation, but it needs to be had for a lot of people because, well, I mean, not, they don't all have to be Teslas, but for Teslas, right? You have the GPS. You can see where the vehicle is. You can see if it's on and see if they left the doors open, and you can like check on your check on your folks that way to make sure they got to where they are and all that type of stuff. But it's definitely worthy of having that conversation to let them know that hey, I got your back. I understand what you're dealing with, but there's a better way.
Community is a big deal for a lot of folks, and I know it's a big deal for you, especially for boomers as they get older. So, how does your club create that sense of belonging that might make a boomer say, yeah, I want to be a part of this?
So I think it goes back to EV adoption requires education, right? So I think for us, we're really big on just being informative and being a voice and being there for people to lean on should they have any questions. And we're very big on being active. So we're always trying to host things. And so we get a lot of hands on with our members continuously. So we're just always out there and always talking to people and answering questions and just being there for them should they need anything. So it's been really about just having that dialogue and being available.
As you've said, a big part of it is almost a paradigm shift. It's a change in thinking. And as boomers, we've been so used to feeling that and the car being a part of our personality. And when I took my test drive, it was absolutely quiet. I was the only one in the car. And I thought, whoa, is this different? So it is a paradigm shift. And I think we both agree that the best way to engage that is to put them in the seat and let them drive.
I think once they hit that pedal and they get that acceleration, a lot of them, I mean, everybody likes to go fast. I think a lot of them realize like, okay, I can do this. Like, cause you got to think for a lot of people that merging on the freeway. Oh, that's a bear, right? But man, you get it in an EV, whew, passing all the trucks. You're like, okay, cool. I'm okay. I got there. I'm good.
So what you just said was even a boomer who's in his or her 70s or 80s, they want to hit that accelerator and it's incredible when they feel the power of electricity, right?
Yeah, I've seen it time and time again. People love the acceleration. Everybody loves the laugh giddy like a child. It gives you that Tesla smile, man, and people love it.
Oh, the Tesla smile. I love it. All right, let's talk money. Boomers are often pretty careful with their cash because as they say, I never buy green bananas. How do you explain the cost of a Tesla to someone who's thinking, this is a big chunk of change. Is it really going to be worth it?
I think once you start to do the math, it just makes sense. And I think for a lot of boomers, they realize, like, for instance, you're going to have your regularly scheduled maintenance issues. You know what I mean? You're not going to have to worry about your oil changes. You're not going to have to worry about your transmission flush. You're not going to have to worry about any belts and hoses or overheating or spark plugs or, you know what I mean? You're not even going to have to worry about even getting a smog check anymore. And I think for a lot of people, that right there makes the shift. Yeah, you might be paying a little bit more upfront, not so much now as it was back in the day, but because right now they're pretty much on par with the prices. But man, early on it was like, okay, yeah, I'm paying a little bit more, but heck, I'm saving that on the first few years, like, of ownership. It's just like, it becomes like you're so far ahead. Like, and that's what it was for me. Like, I just did the math. My wife was like, you don't need a Tesla. But we ended up doing the math on it, and it was like, we had a 2008 Honda Accord, and we were spending an average of about $700 a month. And to get the Tesla was going to be like less than that. So we ended up just freaking biting the bullet. And yeah, it was more upfront, but yeah, I mean, it cost more than our Accord did at the time, but it was still like a better move because it ended up being like way cheaper in the long run. And I drive a lot. Even on my 10-month-old Cybertruck here, I'm approaching 50,000 miles in just 10 months.
10 months?
Yep.
How many miles do you have on your Cybertruck? 50?
48,569.
Wow. And you've done that in 10 months. So how many maintenance visits have you engaged Tesla?
2. Yeah. I had one because this door got hit 2 weeks after owning it. It was somebody hit it, and so they had to replace the door. It wasn't really terrible, but it kind of it was bent at the bottom and it was kind of pushed forward, so they replaced it. The other issue was they had a recall for the applique on the back and on the sides here, and so I took it in for that, and that's been it.
Now, a truck owner would be shaking his head. 2 visits, 10 months, 50,000 miles. My God. So what would you say are the 2 or 3 biggest benefits of a Cybertruck over an F-150?
Well, first of all, everybody needs a Cybertruck. Let's just get that out there. No, I'm just kidding. So, no, I would say from what I've seen, and I have friends with F-150s, like, the capabilities of the truck are incredible. The maneuverability, the drivability of the truck is bar none. But besides that, you have an adjustable air suspension on here, and you're either in a static high on an F-150 or you know what I mean, or you're just freaking very low if you've lowered it. But these are static, you know what I mean? You're doing a rough ride and you can't adjust it. Whereas with the Cybertruck, you have a fully adjustable suspension. You can ride high, you can ride low, you know what I mean? And your off-road capabilities, because that's a huge differentiator. You're going to get like a 4x4 that's going to be an off-road vehicle. But if you have an off-road vehicle, like I know, that vehicle has the big tires, and you're not taking that for street driving because it's knobby and, you know what I mean, it's hard to get in and out of. That's your off-road vehicle. And if you're driving a regular street truck, then those are like really smooth tires or whatever, but you get all of that in one truck. I can jack it up almost 20 inches whenever I want. Like, that's the pull and extract mode. And people are like, holy cow. Whenever I go to events and if I put it in extract mode, they're just like, holy cow, I didn't realize they were so big. And it's like, not the truck can do it can do it all. You know what I mean? And I think like that's like a big differentiator over the regular F-150 versus the Cybertruck. You're looking at something that has this typical F-150 mixed with an F-150 Raptor all in one vehicle. You get the luxury, you get the speed of a Raptor, and you get the usability of like a regular F-150 because the Raptor bed is like super small, right? But then you end up with the regular F-150. This has got a full 6 foot by 4 foot bed in the back, and I towed everything with it. I hauled bricks. I put 4,000 pounds of bricks back there. It's freaking awesome.
Another question. Let me shift gears a little bit. A lot of boomers are retired or they're thinking about it. How do you show them that a Tesla isn't just for the young tech crowd, but fits perfectly into their lifestyle, whether they're road tripping or just running errands?
I think that is pretty easy to do. Again, once they get their butts in the seats, like it really becomes a fundamental. It's like the easiest thing in the world. Once people drive it, they realize that, okay, I can do this. And for us, like we had an intermediate period where we ended up getting like a 2012 Volt, the Chevy Volt, and that was a plug-in hybrid. And we realized that, man, we should have just went all electric, and so that's what we ended up doing. But and I think for a lot of people, it just becomes like just that easy. Just like once you do it, you realize like, okay, this isn't as problematic as I thought it was going to be. People think all these things in their head that they're going to have to do. Oh, well, it's a battery goes bad. And it's like the rarity of people who have had battery replacements versus people who have had their engines and transmissions replaced are like, so the vast difference is so major that you wouldn't even believe. Like it's pretty awesome to be able to, I mean, not completely problem free, you know what I mean? But so maintenance less that it just makes sense.
That's cool to hear. So one more question. Has Elon ever showed up for one of your meetings? And if he did, and you had his ear, what would be one thing you'd tell him that would improve the Tesla experience for boomers?
So he's never showed up to any of our San Joaquin Valley meets, but like I said, he has been to the takeover. He came through virtually. He's done that twice for us, and that's been pretty. I mean, for a guy who's as busy as he is, you know, what I mean, that's pretty awesome. And each of these times that he came, it was like during like really, really wild times in that was happening. So it was just like, man, if we could get him, that'd be great. And we ended up getting him. So not personally has he been to any of our local club events, but if I could tell him anything about boomers, I would just tell him that it would be good to have a program where you give those guys a little bit more attention than just a regular person. Right now, you do everything through the app, and it's kind of intimidating for a lot of people to pay everything through the app, and you go pick it up and you just get in your vehicle. But a lot of people, you know what I mean? Like they don't know like, okay, well, I bought it online and now I'm in it. It's like, what do I do from here? So locally, the Rockland Service Center as well as the Stockton is really good. Arden's also not too bad about it. Bakersfield's really good about this too, is they locally for our clubs have been a lot of attention to detail dealing with the boomers. Even in Fresno, the Fresno Service Center is really good about it too. Just making sure that you give them a little bit more attention. So that would be something I would say. I think they can roll that out as a program. And I mean, you can look at the sales figures of our service centers and see that ratio it's got to be really good because we get a lot of older people in the valley that are buying vehicles and when they're not just told, okay, it's in space number 72, go pick it up. And you know what I mean? Like people walk with them and show them where it's at and ask if they have any questions. And I think that would be something that would be good for Elon to hear, to know that, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that want to buy vehicles and they're kind of intimidated, but you could eliminate that. Just letting them know like, hey, we have this. this boomer program where we're going to cater to you a little bit, give you a little bit more time and attention, and make sure you understand the vehicle before you take off.
That exact thing happened to me in my test drive. I drove a couple hours east into a Motel 6 or a Super 8, I forget what it was, and there were two Teslas sitting there, and I got there at 3:58, and I tried to get in, it wouldn't let me in, and then at 4:00, it opened up, and did the same thing. I just started pushing buttons, but it occurred to me that what Elon or someone could do is the first thing that happens is a video pops up. It says, hey, welcome, make it personalized. Hey, welcome. And you're going to enjoy the ride. Here's what I want you to do first. Look at that button down there, the red one, and push that first. Oh, yeah. And then, so a self-help video like that.
That'd be awesome. Because they have the tutorials in the app, but again, you're looking at a situation where the person would have to be shown where that is.
So, Joe, it's been my distinct pleasure to get to know you this afternoon, California time, this afternoon, and I'm glad you were in your Cybertruck and you could deliver this presentation, which is an additional benefit of owning a Cybertruck. It's quiet. So I appreciate it. And any possible things you'd like to say in closing?
Well, no, I really appreciate you having me on. I think this is a good thing that you're doing, and it hits a market where people really need to be aware, and I think that's awesome that you're doing that. As for me, I'm on social media, X and everything else under SJV Tesla, San Joaquin Valley Tesla. You know what I mean? You can find me on X. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. So I'm everywhere.
All right, sir. Appreciate all your help.
Thank you guys for having me. This is awesome.